Welcome to the 2024 Gaming Laptop Awards. I've tested 21 gaming laptops this year, and I've got awards in 22 different categories to give out. So let's get into it and find out which gaming laptops were the best. Our first category is Best GPU, as this is the #1 factor in determining game performance. Now, 2024 was actually kind of boring as far as new GPU releases go, because there weren't any new gaming laptop GPUs this year. We had the same options as what we had last year, but they are available at much better prices now. Next-gen RTX 50 series gaming laptops won't be announced until CES in January 2025. Make sure you're subscribed for our future comparisons. But until then, I think Nvidia's RTX 4060 laptop GPU is the best all-round option. GPU performance depends on power limit, which varies by laptop. But at full power, an RTX 4060 gaming laptop is capable of 60 FPS gaming at 1440p in a 23 game average without even using features like DLSS or frame generation. Not bad. And before Black Friday, we're now seeing 4060 laptops go on sale for $750 US, which makes them quite attractive. You can save money and find the best sales on our gaminglaptop.deals website with the link below. After the best GPU, I think it only makes sense to cover the best CPU next. This year on the Intel side, we got their 14th gen core processors. There's just one problem. The i5 and i9 are basically just rebranded 13th gen chips with a slightly higher single core. Now, the i7-14900HX did actually get 4 extra E-cores compared to the 13700HX last generation. But apart from that, 14th gen didn't really offer that much of a performance improvement this year. Now, Intel also released their Lunar Lake processors in September, but that maxes out at just 8 cores and 8 threads, so it's not found in any gaming laptops, meaning that it's not relevant here. And it's a similar deal from AMD too. We got their Ryzen 8000 processors at the start of the year, but they were still Zen 4 based, just like last year's 7000 series. Pretty much the only difference is they had a better NPU this year for AI acceleration. Now, to be fair, we did get newer Zen 5 processors from AMD in July, like the Ryzen AI 9 HX370. And apart from the dumb name that I always get wrong, this did give us an improvement in single and multi-core performance over AMD's previous mid-range Zen 4 HS laptop processors. Anyway, if we're talking about raw CPU performance, then Intel's Core i9-14900HX gets the win here, though AMD's best laptop chip from last year isn't far behind in multi-core performance. But yeah, just look how close many of the 13900HX and 14900HX results are. At the end of the day, performance depends more on power limits and cooling of the laptop that the processor is in than simply saying 14th gen is better than 13th gen. Now, we are expecting Intel's Arrow Lake H and HX laptop processors, as well as more powerful Zen 5 laptop processors from AMD at CES early next year. That's just 1 month away in January, and I'll be there covering all the new gaming laptops, so make sure you're subscribed for that. There's no point having a good CPU and GPU if you can't keep them cool. So best cooling is up next. But this is a tough one to compare. One laptop might run cooler and quieter than another, but because of lower power limits, which means that it performs worse. So it's kind of hard to fairly compare that with a laptop that has higher power limits, but might have higher temperatures and higher fan speeds as a result. If we just look at the maximum fan noise recorded while under stress test, MSI's Titan 18 was the loudest, though there were a number of smaller 16-inch laptops near the top of the list too. But of course, you don't have to run with the fans maxed out. Here's how fan noise looks in the highest performance modes without manually setting the fans to full blast. The smaller 14-inch laptops do a good job of running quieter compared to others, but as mentioned, they don't perform as well as the bigger laptops. To me, best cooling means that we're able to get the best CPU and GPU performance out of our laptop, because ultimately, cooling is the only reason that we can't just crank up the power limits through the roof and hit new record speeds. A good cooling system makes thermals less of a limit, so the winner this year has got to be XMG's Neo 16/Electronics Hydrox 16. This gaming laptop has an optional liquid cooler, and with it, it's able to get noise levels competitive with lower spec 14-inch models. In impressive stuff. But even if we get rid of the liquid cooler, it's more a middle of the pack result on air cooling. But it still has a 4090 laptop GPU, and a number of lower spec laptops are still louder. I mean, the fact that this 16-inch gaming laptop on air cooling was performing better in Cinebench compared to bigger 18-inch options is extremely impressive. The liquid cooling pushes it to another level, but it's not required to dominate the competition. I gave this laptop the best cooling last year too, but it's just so much better this year, because last year the water loop only went over the GPU, but now this year it goes above both the CPU and GPU while also being closer to the CPU and GPU dies, which just results in better cooling and more performance. Performance in games is improved with the liquid cooler attached, but in most cases it's competing against larger 17 and 18-inch gaming laptops that should have space for more cooling, yet don't seem to. Next up is best battery life, which is kind of important for a portable machine. Now, there's more to this category than simply having a large battery, though that certainly does help. Runtime on battery power depends on the components inside the laptop, as well as various software optimizations. Purely in terms of longest runtime, the Asus Zephyrus G16 lasted the longest, almost lasting for 12 hours in our YouTube video playback test. Asus's smaller Zephyrus G14 is a little behind in second place, again with an AMD processor, while the tough A14, basically a cut-down version of the G14, came in at third place. So the top 3 spots are all Asus laptops using AMD processors. Looks like they're doing something right. Intel's Media Lake chips are more power efficient here compared to the beefy HX processors, which just tend to suck down more power. The only AMD result that sucked this year was Lenovo's lock with 7435HS, but that's because this processor does not have integrated graphics. It's perfectly fine if you're using the laptop with the charger connected, basically like a 7735HS in terms of performance. But yeah, no iGPU is the reason why this chip is found in some of the cheapest gaming laptops this year. So definitely avoid the 7235HS and 7435HS if battery life is important to you. Alongside good battery life, we also want good performance while running on battery power. I mean, if your laptop is lasting like 12 hours on battery power because it's restricting the power so harshly that you can barely use it, does it really count? If we look at Cinebench performance, but with the charger unplugged, we've got a few Intel Core i9-14900HX results at the top, which might not sound surprising based on the Cinebench results we looked at earlier with the charger connected, but in my experience, Intel laptops generally seem to lose more performance on battery power than AMD with the charger removed. And that is still happening in a number of cases. So this clearly depends more on the laptop itself rather than simply what processor it's using. Asus's Scar 18 at the top is reaching a 64% higher multi-core score compared to Razer's Blade 16, for example. But then the difference between them was just 16% with their chargers connected. Anyway, Asus's Scar 18 wins this one, followed by Lenovo's Legion 7i. Both are just able to maintain higher single and multi-core performance on battery power than the rest. Alright, let's move over to best screen next. The screen is more important than you might think, because it's what you're actually going to be staring at when using the laptop. And there's a lot to consider, like screen size, refresh rate, brightness, color gamut, response time, backlight bleed, resolution, contrast, and more. I've said before that I really like OLED. Last year, we only tested one gaming laptop with an OLED screen, but this year that increased to 5. But there's not really too much to differentiate them. So I guess any gaming laptop with an OLED panel is considered a winner here. Response times from all of them are super quick compared to other panel types. Brightness is all fairly similar, decent, but doesn't compete against mini LED panels. And color gamut is excellent on them all too. The only downsides for me are the potential of burn-in and the glossy screen finish, which I don't really like because it's really easy for lights to show reflections depending on your environment. But some laptops do a better job of mitigating burn-in compared to others. I think Asus in particular stands out ahead of most of the other brands, as their software just gives you more option to try and counter the effects of OLED burn-in. Mini LED screens are a better option if you want to prioritize brightness, but personally I don't like the halo or blooming effect. But that's personal preference. If you just want the brightest screen possible, then ASUS's Scar 18 wins in SDR mode, while MSI's Titan 18 wins in HDR mode. And let's be real, gaming on a bigger screen is objectively better, but it does make the laptop larger too. So yeah, I think the 16-inch OLED panels are a better all-round sweet spot. And combined with their better burn-in mitigations, I've got to give the award for best screen to ASUS's Zephyrus G16. Next up is the best keyboard. This one will come down a bit more to personal preference, as it's much more subjective compared to a lot of the other categories that were more data-driven. It's also a challenge for me because I don't have all 21 laptops side by side at the same time to test and compare fairly. Laptops get sent back throughout the year once the review's done, so I'm working based on my notes and memory of using each laptop, as well as the video clips that I captured during the review. Now, that said, personally, I like to use mechanical keyboards, even if they are louder. But we only tested 2 gaming laptops with mechanical keyboards this year, MSI's Titan 18 and Alienware's M18R2, 2 massive gaming laptops. Personally, I liked typing on the Alienware more, as I found it quieter compared to MSI's Titan. Plus the font on the Alienware just isn't as gamery looking, and it has the function key on the left rather than right, which I prefer. As for non-mechanical keyboards, I still really like pretty much any keyboard in a Legion laptop. But then on the other hand, my partner isn't a fan of the keyboards on the Lenovo's. She just doesn't like them as much as I do. So again, it's personal preference. If you've got the option of trying out a laptop keyboard in a store before buying, then I highly suggest doing that. And speaking of touching things, best touchpad is up next. Again, it's a similar deal to best keyboard, in that I don't have all 21 laptops here at the same time to compare fairly side by side. But based on memory and my notes, for me, I think it's gotta be ASUS's Zephyrus G16 or Zephyrus G14, as both felt super accurate to use and worked well. But there weren't really any this year I tested that were terrible. And realistically, most of you are probably going to connect a mouse anyway. So let's move on. Let's make our way over to the best speakers next. After reviewing all of my sound recordings, it's a tie between ASUS's Zephyrus G14 and G16, both of which have big improvements this year compared to their older versions. Both laptops have front-facing speakers and produce some of the best audio I've ever heard from any gaming laptop. They sound clear with a good amount of bass. They're not that far away to what I consider to be the gold standard when it comes to laptop speakers, which is Apple's MacBook Pro. But at the end of the day, I don't think this category is too important, because even good gaming speakers don't sound that great once you're in a game and the laptop's fans start spitting up. You're just much better off investing in a good pair of headphones. Best port selection is up next. Generally speaking, the bigger the laptop, the more ports that it's able to fit. Alienware's M18R2 was the biggest and heaviest laptop tested this year, and it also offered some of the best connectivity with 3 USB Type-A ports, 3 USB Type-C ports, 2 of which are Thunderbolt 4, a 3.5mm audio combo jack, the first 5GB Ethernet port in a gaming laptop I've ever seen, an SD card slot, HDMI 2.1, and mini DisplayPort 1.4. This thing is just stacked when it comes to ports. But one that surprised me was the XMG Neo 16 / Electronics Hydrox 16, because it's basically got the same port options as MSI's larger Titan 18. The only difference being its Type-A ports are slower Gen 1 rather than Gen 2 like the Titan. Though for that matter, the M18R2 also uses Gen 1 on the Type-A's and write Type-C. But still, the Neo 16 is a 16-inch laptop, not an 18-inch. So I guess if the faster USB speeds are important to you, then MSI's Titan 18 would be the winner here. But in terms of the most all-round connectivity, it's Alienware's M18R2, with XMG's Neo 16 having a surprising amount of options for a 16-inch laptop. And special shout out to the Framework 16, because it's the only laptop that lets you customize the ports. You can pick what you want and where it goes, which is an extremely cool concept. Overall, it doesn't offer as much total connectivity as the others, but I mean, if you want full-size DisplayPort, good luck finding that anywhere else. Next, let's find out which laptop has the best Wi-Fi speed. The latest Wi-Fi 7 first started appearing in gaming laptops late last year, but it was only this year where we started to see it become more common in higher-end laptops laptops. Purely in terms of raw transfer speeds, Alienware's M18R2 was the best by close to a 300 megabit margin. Unfortunately, some Wi-Fi 7 laptops tested seem to fall back to Wi-Fi 6E speeds. I know Dell in particular said that their Alienware M16R2 wouldn't be able to use its Wi-Fi 7 hardware until later in 2024 with a driver update once Windows 24 H2 was released. So not sure if that was the case with some of the other Wi-Fi 7 laptops that were behind too. It's possible these may do better than what I've shown here, as I tested most of them months ago, but it just goes to show that we're in a bit of a transitional period in terms of Wi-Fi this year. Not to mention, having Wi-Fi 7 in your gaming laptop doesn't really matter too much unless you get a Wi-Fi 7 router. And realistically, unless you're doing local network transfers like off a NAS, most people won't be able to tell the difference going from Wi-Fi 6E to Wi-Fi 7 anyway, unless your internet speed is already faster than gigabit. Alright, our next category is best upgradeability. Just like last year, most gaming laptops let you upgrade the 2 memory slots, 2 M.2 storage slots, and Wi-Fi card. That's pretty standard and what I would consider to be good upgradeability. Of course, that wasn't always the case. There were certainly a number of laptops that had soldered memory that couldn't be upgraded, like Asus's Zephyrus G14, where presumably compromises were made to keep it so small, but also the bigger Zephyrus G16, a 16-inch laptop that still has soldered memory, but it is also the thinnest 16-inch gaming laptop I've ever tested, and the lightest by quite a fair margin, so that's the trade-off. And while some models like those were getting rid of upgradeability to make things smaller, there were some laptops that were pushing upgrades to the extreme. I've given upgradeability scores to laptops based on things like ease of access and how many memory or storage slots are available. This year, MSI's Titan 18 is leading the way by a fair margin, and this is because it's the only gaming laptop I've tested this year that has 3 M.2 storage slots and 4 DDR5 memory slots. Not only that, but one of those M.2 slots offers PCIe Gen 5 support, and although we first saw that come to some select laptops back in 2022, MSI is still one of the few offering that this year. Of course, the Titan 18 is fairly large in order to fit all this hardware inside, so that's the trade-off. I think of it more like a portable desktop replacement. But that said, surprisingly, it wasn't the heaviest gaming laptop we tested this year. So I guess the Chonk Award goes to Alienware's M18R2. Now, while the Titan 18 wins purely in terms of how many components you can cram into it, Framework 16 also deserves a mention here. This is the only laptop I know of right now that lets you easily remove the GPU. I can install the RX 7700S graphics in about 2 minutes. And in future, if Framework sells a newer GPU, an upgrade should be very simple. This is extremely promising. The only reason I'm a bit hesitant to give Framework the award for this category is that they don't currently have any other GPU options that you can buy. It's an awesome concept, but right now there just aren't other GPU options available. Though to be fair to Framework, that's mostly down to AMD not offering better options yet. And of course, if we're talking most repairable, then the Framework 16 wins that category too. It's not even close. Now let's find out which gaming laptop is the most portable. Unfortunately, there are a few smaller 14-inch models that we didn't get access to this year, like Acer's Helios Neo 14. But I don't think it really matters too much, because based on the spec sheet, the ones that we didn't get don't compete with the winner anyway. Asus's Zephyrus G14 and their slightly cheaper TUF A14 were almost tied for the lightest gaming laptop tested this year. And that's the case even if we account for their charges. But the G14 has an edge, as it's a little smaller in size. MSI's Cyborg 14 and HP's Omen 14 aren't too far behind, but the G14 performs so much better than those in games while still being smaller and lighter. Of course, like many 14-inch gaming laptops, the trade-off is that memory is soldered and cannot be upgraded. That's partly how they're able to get it so small and portable. Personally, I don't think this is the end of the world if you buy it with 32 gigs of RAM, as that should be plenty for years to come if you're just gaming. And that also means the memory is faster LPDDR5X2. Now let's find out which gaming laptop has risen from the ashes and improved the most this year. For the most part, I would say 2024 was the year of small tweaks. Nvidia didn't give us any new laptop graphics, and Intel and AMD only had subtle refreshes on their processors. So there weren't really any big gen-on-gen performance improvements. So as a result, most laptops this year just stuck in the latest CPU and called it a day. And that's why we only reviewed reviewed 21 gaming laptops this year instead of 35 plus like last year. Now, some improvements were small but welcome, like Asus's Scar 18 and Razer's Blade 18 getting mini LED screens, for example. But I think the biggest improvements seen in a gaming laptop this year are in XMG's Neo 16 / Electronics Hydrox 16. The build quality of this laptop feels way better this year. It's got a brighter screen which goes further back and doesn't wobble around anymore. They also added Type-C charging. It's using a more portable GAN charger now. The camera gets a privacy shutter, the touchpad is bigger, I think the RGB lighting looks better, and most importantly, the optional liquid cooler is way more effective now. As mentioned in the best cooling category, last year the pipe for water only went above the GPU. This year it goes over both the CPU and GPU, while also being closer to the CPU and GPU dies. So thermals and performance are just way better all round, which is important considering how expensive this laptop is. Asus's Zephyrus series also deserves a shout out here, as both the G14 and G16 were redesigned into a thinner laptop with a beautiful OLED screen and some of the best speakers I've ever heard, from a gaming laptop of course. And the build quality was also nicer. I mean, both of those laptops made it into my top 5 laptops of 2024 after all. So I think their improvements are definitely great, but they did take upgradable memory from us this generation, which as discussed is the compromise to getting them so portable. So then, which gaming laptop had the best RGB lighting? This just might be the most serious category out of all of them. Alright, but seriously, this year it's gotta be Asus's Scar 18, which not only has a perky RGB keyboard, but an RGB logo on the lid, RGB light bar on the back, and RGB light bar on the front that wraps around the sides. Last year, I gave it to Lenovo's Legion 9, which also has a lot going on, but we didn't get the 2024 model to test this year, though I believe it's essentially the same, just with a new Intel 14th gen processor. Purely in terms of keyboard lighting though, I still think Razer's laptops have the nicest looking lighting. The keys get bright, they're evenly lit, and they just look great. Ultimately, something like RGB lighting comes down to personal taste and preference. But those laptops have the most RGB lighting on them, and their software offers quite a lot of customization, so you can get it looking how you want. Just before we get to the best gaming laptops of the year, we need to talk about content creation. Although I focus on gaming laptop models these days, the fact is what's good for gaming performance is also good for content creators. They need a good CPU, good GPU, a good screen, and enough memory. Purely in terms of raw performance, XMG's Neo 16 takes the win even without its optional liquid cooler in Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, DaVinci Resolve, and Blender. But there's more to life than raw performance. The Neo 16 has a decent screen, but there's no mini LED or OLED option, which I would personally prefer in a creator laptop. Between mini LED and OLED, personally I prefer OLED. You just get those crisp deep blacks and epic contrast, and you don't have to worry about the halo or bloom effect that's possible with mini LED, depending on how many backlit zones there are. But OLED isn't as bright as mini LED, and the only OLED options that we tested this year were Razer's Blade 16, HP's Omen 14, Asus's Zephyrus G14, and Zephyrus G16. And although portability is nice with the Zephyrus G14 and Omen 14 as their smaller 14-inch laptops, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to sit there crammed over a little screen working on it all day on content creation tasks. With such a small screen, I'd end up connecting a monitor to it, which then kind of defeats the purpose of the laptop screen being OLED. So between the Zephyrus G16 and Razer Blade 16, I've got to give it to the Razer Blade 16 for having a more powerful Intel HX processor, which simply offers more single and multi-core performance compared to the Intel Media Lake or Zen 5 processor options in the Zephyrus G16. Just before the best gaming laptops of the year, we need to discuss the most disappointing. The most disappointing gaming laptop of 2024 is HP's Omen 14. And I think the main reason for that is the expectations set by HP. They first told me in late 2023 that they'd be introducing the thinnest and lightest 14-inch gaming laptop at CES 2024 in January, which was exciting. But Asus beat them to the punch with a redesigned G14, which is not only cheaper and performs better in games, but in my opinion, it's just a better all-round option. Look, completely standalone in a bubble, the Omen 14 isn't actually that bad of a gaming laptop. It works fine and has some nice features, like the OLED screen. It's still pretty lightweight, and it's got that unique keyboard. The problem is, I just don't don't think that it makes sense for anyone to consider as long as the Zephyrus G14 exists. The build-up and the hype for the Omen 14 just let me down, and that's why I was most disappointed in it. Up next, we've got the best entry-level gaming laptop for those of you on the tightest of budgets. A brand new gaming laptop is going to cost about $500 US, maybe $450 if you can find a great sale. Otherwise, you're either looking at used gaming laptops, which can be a great way to save money, or a brand new gaming laptop that's actually older, and its hardware probably isn't going to run the latest games very well. But we've seen RTX 4050 graphics in HP's Victus go on sale for $500 before Black Friday, which is just outstanding value. Before that deal, you'd be limited to RTX 2050 or 3050 graphics. So I think that just has to win the best entry-level gaming laptop award. Next up is the best budget gaming laptop of 2024. For this category, I'm assuming that you've got a bit more budget over our entry-level option, say $600 to $800, and spending just $100 to $200 more on your gaming laptop at this point gets you so much more. I definitely think that it's worth saving the extra for something that you're going to be using for years to come. The extra time taken to save the money is just going to be worth it. Now, there weren't actually too many changes in the budget gaming laptop space this year, so without any new or significantly improved competition, I've got to give this award to Lenovo's Lock just like last year. The Lock just offers great features for the price, and regularly goes on sale and is cheaper compared to the competition, like Acer's Nitro, HP's Victus, or Asus's TUF. The best mid-range gaming laptop is up next. For this one, I'm talking about a price range of $800 to $1,000 US. And for this amount of money, it is possible to squeeze in RTX 4070 graphics in a model like HP's Victus, Asus's TUF, or Acer's Nitro. If you just want the best FPS per dollar, then those are the best options that we've seen. Seriously, $900 for an RTX 4070 is kind of insane. For reference, when the 4050 was first announced back in January 2023, I'm pretty sure Nvidia said it would start at $1,000. So yeah, we've come quite a way in the last couple of years. But of course, there's more to a gaming laptop than just maximizing how many frames you can get for your money, which is why I've got to give the best mid-range gaming laptop award to Lenovo's Legion 5. The RTX 4060 version has gone on sale for $849 prior to Black Friday weekend, which is a great deal for a solid all-round gaming laptop. Compared to the cheaper Lock, build quality improves, and there are still more features and better software, in my opinion, compared to what other brands offer at this price point. The runner-up in this category would be Acer's Helios Neo 16, but I already compared those two in a dedicated 19-minute video if you want all the details. The Helios wins in some ways, but the Legion wins in more. It depends on what's more important to you, but at the end of the day, both are solid gaming laptops that you'll have a great time with. Just before we talk maxed out unobtainium tier laptops, let's cover the best mid to high-end option. For this category, I'm looking at $1,000 to $1,500. And for this much money at the higher end, it is possible to sometimes pick up an RTX 4080 gaming laptop with the right sale. But the problem is that in all the deals we've seen so far, there have been other compromises, like poor quality 1080p screens. But hey, if you're gonna get the laptop and just dock it at your desk and plug in a high quality monitor, then yeah, that's a good way of getting that level of performance on the cheap. But that aside, at this price range, we're generally looking at more premium 4070 gaming laptops. And with that in mind, for me, this award is a tie between Asus's Zephyrus G16 and Lenovo's Legion 7i. I did an entire video comparing both laptops in depth, and the conclusion was that I could go either way. Basically, people who want the thinnest, lightest 16-inch gaming laptop available with an OLED screen, amazing speakers, and better battery life should lean towards the Zephyrus, while those who want upgradable memory and the extra performance possible from a slightly bigger laptop should lean towards the Legion 7i. Alright, but what about the best possible high-end gaming laptop for those with unlimited budgets? Obviously, you're looking at something with RTX 4090 graphics here. It just depends on whether you want something that's still portable, like Razer's Blade 16, or if you want maximum performance from a desktop replacement style machine like MSI's Titan 18. Personally, I've got to give it to XMG's Neo 16 / Electronics Hydrox 16, as I think it's a decent middle ground. It's still a 16-inch gaming laptop, granted a little on the thicker side, but as we saw in the best cooling category earlier, it's still able to beat larger 18-inch options no problem, even without the optional liquid cooler. Razer's Blade 16 probably has the nicest feeling build quality, and it has the option of an OLED screen, but there's definitely a performance compromise there compared to other max-spec laptops. But if you don't care about size and aren't planning on moving the laptop around as much, and you want to stick as many things in as possible, like most SSDs and RAM, then I've got to give it to MSI's Titan 18, at least out of the laptops I tested this year. If I counted models that I tested last year, and money wasn't a problem, I'd probably go for Lenovo's Legion 9. Yeah, I know that its liquid cooling is totally a gimmick, but I just like pretty much everything else about that laptop, except of course the crazy price. But there are plenty of other great gaming laptops that we tested this year, which is why I've ranked all of them in this video using a tier list. So come and join me in that one next to find out how everything compares.